What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Game Time here on the Game Time Sports Channel. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, joined as always by a man who's licking his wounds a little bit after a drubbing at the hands of the Detroit Lions there, Winston A. Marshall. How are you, brother?
I know I'm good. Give it a second. I know I'm a little glitchy. My computer will correct itself in a second there.
Okay.
I'm trying to close some things. I'm fine. I got a fresh haircut. I actually am dressed up. People are probably wondering what this is for. I'm actually, as soon as this is over, on the way for a job interview to be the new GM of the Cowboys because ours is fucking terrible. So I went ahead and put on my my Monday best. I didn't want to put the suit jacket on. It's too hot in here. But I will be seeing myself on a flight to Dallas to go and try and make some sense of this nonsense.
This guy, motherfucking Black Draft Day over here. I appreciate it. The Black Kevin Costner over here.
Yeah, I would have. I mean, if that was if had that been the case, man, I would have made sure we went and got Malik Neighbors, put him with CeeDee Lamb. You know what I'm saying? Like I would have done something here instead of whatever the fuck it is we're doing right now.
It's a hell of a 1-2 punch for sure. But yeah, we're going to get into that game, certainly. And we're going to do a lot of games going on in the world of the NFL. I'm going to keep my glasses on for as long as I can do them. I've been getting headaches today from these glasses, so maybe I'll be taking them off. It might be time to get some cataract surgery. We will see. But anyway, that's the situation with my end. So if you see me taking the glasses on and off throughout the show, that's what's going on. We got a lot to get into here, Winston A. Week 6 in the NFL, we had some marquee matchups. We had some kind of boring matchups. But we're going to talk about them all here on this particular episode. Remember, guys, we are not at 1,000 subscribers yet. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe down below. So we can't get to super chats, but you can send Streamlabs to support the show, which I will put up. You see the address there right in the middle there, right above our heads, but I will put it in the chat as well. But we're going to get into everything going on and keep the chat lively, y'all. You know, we love hearing from you all as we do jump into the stuff that's going on in the world of the NFL. So let's get into it, Winston. Let's get into the first one here, and that is the Commanders and the Ravens here, man. Lamar Jackson went 20 of 26, threw for 323 yards, ran for 40 more, and the Ravens beat the Washington Commanders 30-23 there in Baltimore. Derrick Henry ran for 132 yards, and his 8th and 9th touchdown, which, by the way, leads the NFL. And Flowers set a career high with 132 yards receiving, all in the first half. He didn't get another pass in the second half at all in the first half. And pretty incredible stuff. And then Mark Andrews tied Todd Heap for the most touchdown catches since the team moved to Baltimore for the 41st catch or touchdown of his career. Jaden Daniels went 24 of 35 for 269 yards. Terry McLaurin got a nice touchdown there as well. But yeah, in the end, just there wasn't enough firepower on the Commanders side. Winston, what do you take away from this? Still some promising signs. And is Baltimore now kind of rounding into form already with 4 straight wins?
I mean,
oh, there it is.
Oh God, I was just getting all that cowboy nonsense out of my body. Sorry. It's as simple as this, man. The Ravens went to the AFC Championship game last year. You had a rough matchup in your AFC Championship, opponent week 1. Who did they play week 2? The Ravens. Remember?
Oh, who we played week 2?
No, the Ravens, not the Commanders. The Ravens. They played the Raiders and got beat in a close matchup. But since then have been rolling, and a lot of that just has to do with the fact that like they are now into form. You shook the rust off. You pulled what was typically the Bengals move: lose the first 2 games and then get it popping. And I think it's just that you just needed a minute to adjust with your new line. You needed the defense to remember their their identity, and more specifically, you had to get Derrick Henry involved and comfortable with how they play offense. And now that you've done that, the Ravens look like in my opinion, the actual world beaters. I understand that the Chiefs are, undefeated currently. I think those injuries catch up with you eventually. It doesn't take away from Andy Reid's greatness. It doesn't take away from Patrick Mahomes' greatness, but I think those injuries catch up unless we see like a big trade happen to try and fill some gaps.
Yeah.
I think the Ravens right now look like the team to beat in the AFC. I think that the Washington Commanders need to be praised for this performance because not only did you not have your starting running back in Robinson, who I really kind of needed out there, but his knee was looking kind of wonky. So your running game couldn't really get situated. He's actually been very consistent with Eckler being the pressure relief. Not the lead back. He's not really got that lead back, quickness and whatnot anymore. He's got the change of pace back thing down pat at this point. So all of that being said, I think that you definitely need to give them praise for what they were able to pull off. You got to look at Jaden for not turning the ball over. He maybe had some turnover on downs, but no interceptions, no fumbles to be had. Had a great game, still threw for 269 and 2 touchdowns. This kid is the truth, man. You did this. I think what actually happened here and why y'all got beat, I think you could have snuck out a victory if I can't remember which pundit didn't run their mouth and say already that Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback than Lamar. That was the stupidest thing you could have said. Because Lamar didn't just run it this time. Lamar threw for 323 and a touchdown and an interception, but a touchdown, and then still ran it for 40. Just shut up. Just be quiet. Why does everybody want to crown someone king before shit has happened? Be quiet. This is the reigning MVP, God damn it.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's been frustrating for me to see people compare him to Lamar. He's not the same type of quarterback. Jaden runs when he has to, but Jaden wants to be a pocket quarterback. And you see that specifically with Lamar. Lamar, obviously, for many years, he relied on his legs, and that was always the complaint with him. But he has gotten better as a quarterback. He stays in that pocket. And I think he played this way in this game to prove a point. Like to say to all those people, like, no, you all think I'm just legs. I can do this thing through the air as well. And it was so frustrating, man, to watch us be unable to put any pressure on Lamar. Occasionally got a sack or two, I think, but we weren't able to put any real consistent pressure on Lamar, and he was able to find his receivers all over the place. I mean, Mark Andrews couldn't buy a catch for the last few weeks, but he was able to get in the end zone, get a couple of catches. Zay Flowers went crazy in the first half. Those things that you just kind of give credit to Lamar and the Ravens for preparing themselves against the Commanders. And he said that we're a pick your poison offense. And I think watching that game, it's very clear that they've established that. I think you bring up an excellent point, Winston. It took a while for Derek to really kind of understand how this offense works, have the offense understand how to feed Derrick Henry, but not at the expense of Lamar. Like incorporating Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade and LeBron together. Like it took a little bit of time to figure out who's going to take a back seat when. These are things that happen. So Derrick and Lamar going together, man, it's tough to watch. So I do take credit from this, that we only lost by 7 points. We had a chance to win this thing. And so, go ahead. Sorry.
This is no, you're fine. I just want people to understand the evolution of King Henry and his resurgence with the Baltimore Ravens. He started off a little wobbly at 13 carries, 46 yards.
Yeah.
So he's averaging about 3.5 and only 1 touchdown, right?
Yeah.
He follows it up with 18 carries, 84 yards, and a touchdown. And from that point forward, he has no less than 90 yards rushing. And when he did that, he only had 15 attempts and at least a touchdown. So then week 3 against us, 25 carries, 151, 2 touchdowns. Week 4 against Buffalo, 24 carries, almost 200 yards, 199 and a touchdown. Against the Cincinnati last week, 15 carries, 92 yards and a touchdown. This week against Washington, 24 carries, 132 and 2 touchdowns. I have a feeling he's going to hit 2K this year. I just have a gut feeling at the way that he is now rolling. He's going to be, you remember CJ2K? And back when that was his name. King Henry is going to climb that mountain and rush for 2,000 yards at this junction. And he might end up breaking Tomlinson's rushing touchdown record and break that too. This is crazy. It is crazy what he's doing. And that, to me, I see Sean already. They were the team to beat last time. Well, you know what the problem was? They knew that Lamar was really the only thing. That he was going to live and die by Lamar. Either he's going to try and rush it or do whatever sort of pass. And you still have that defense to handle people. You didn't have Derrick Henry squared up the way he needed to be quite yet week 1.
Yeah.
And now he's playing the way he did in peak form. You should, Sean, I know you ride for your team. You should genuinely be afraid. If they stay healthy and do this the rest of the year, you should genuinely be afraid, my guy. That's not a blood feud. That's a legitimate warning, seeing the way that they are shaping into a team now.
Yeah, you can see it very clearly. I mean, because they've never had anyone like Derrick Henry in the backfields, and that is huge weapon to have in the backfield, along with these emerging receivers like Flowers and Bateman and others. And Andrews, of course, still dipping into the fountain of youth every once in a while. It's great to see this. So the fact that he can like spread the wealth all over the field and have Derrick Henry there to take the ball and pound it and keep the defense honest by not having them just stack DBs back there to short circuit Lamar. That's invaluable. You know, everyone talks about it. John Elway didn't win a Super Bowl until he got a decent running back, a good running back, and Terrell Davis. That shit matters. And I think yesterday, if we'd had Brian Robinson Jr., I think we'd had a way better chance to win this game than we had. And Eckler is fine. The new kid, the rookie is fine. But Robinson, as you said, change it back, running back. But not just that. He pounds that line, man. He pounds that line, and he's deceptively sneaky and slick when he gets past the first line of defense and gets those extra yards after run. And so those are the things that Brian Robinson brings, and they were missing for us and so essential for us. And I think I hope his injury isn't too bad. But on the other side, man, we just lost Jonathan Allen for the season. It came out this morning. He tore his pectoral muscle when he went out in the third quarter yesterday. That's a massive loss for us trying to get pressure on the quarterback. That's going to put even more pressure on the DBs. And I don't think we have a defensive end that's like rolling around out there that we can go pick up in free agency. So this is going to be an interesting situation.
You might have to try and pull a trade, man, because here's the thing. I understand that they don't have the same kind of like stonewall defense that they've had in the past. I saw Sean saying that you don't have a D, but they have a bend don't break. And we've seen that is more than enough to get the job done. If you give me the key stops, I'll go get you the points. And as long as Baltimore can do that, because right now they're only allowing 59 rushing yards per game. They're the number one rush defense in the league. Their issue, like you said, is because you've got young people on their corners. They're the ones that are causing a lot of issues. You're able to throw all over them. That's a little bit of a problem. But to that point, look, the Chiefs allow 217 pass yards per game. 275 is significantly worse. But like the Chiefs are middle of the pack with that. Yeah. But then they have the top points defense. I want to say they're number one or they're tied. They're like number 5 in points allowed as a defense. So you know what I'm saying? It's like pick your poison and how you want to do it. As long as the Baltimore Ravens on defense show up in it's a 3rd and 2, make it happen. It's a goal line stand, make it happen, which they've shown that they can, because look at how many comebacks they almost were able to mount in the 2 games they lost. They almost pulled it off on Kansas City. It was the toe seen around the world. Yeah. You know, and then the other game against, the Raiders was just, I think that was Devontae Adams being like, get me the fuck up out of here. Here's my resume tape. So it's just it is what it is. Yeah. Yeah. And you can't compare a game 1 game versus a game in the playoffs. Like week 1 game is not going to tell you anything about a team you're going to play in the playoffs, because they're going to round into form over all those weeks and be seasoned and play all these different teams and have all these schemes that they're overcoming. And so that's going to be a different situation. So if you can take a week 1 victory and say that means they're going to beat them in the playoffs, that's ridiculous. Everything's changed over the 17 weeks of the season for God's sake. So, and I also see, again, Sean, I see you talking about, well, how did they allow so many points against the Bengals? You're talking about a Bengals team. It's not their offense that's the problem. They have no defense. So when you have one of the highest flying offenses in the league, right? They like Joe Burrow is that dude. He's catching flack because his team hadn't been winning, but he's that dude. What all that really was like, damn, my defense really ain't gonna do shit to help me right now. I'm just gonna have to gun it out. I think unless you start seeing a bunch of games out of Baltimore that's the case, where it's like upsetting point levels, then fine. But they held the Bills to 10. What are we talking about? Like with Josh Allen, we were already crowning MVP by week 4. So let's use some context here, guy. Well, and a division rival.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Bengals-Ravens games, that's a division rival. You can't put the same expectations on a game like that than you would outside the division. It's just a different situation. But I mean, they play a red-hot Buccaneers team next week. They've got Cleveland, then Denver, then Cincinnati again, real quickly. Like only 5 weeks or 6 weeks of separation between those games. Then Steelers, Chargers, Eagles, Giants, Steelers, Texans, Browns. So it's a good rest of the season schedule for them. I think they're going to end up like 14-3, 15-2. Maybe they go on a whole like 13 game or 15 game winning streak. Maybe there's possibilities.
Look at these games they got left, man. Like Buccaneers will give you some trouble. You're winning against the Browns. That's you're also winning against the Broncos.
I think the Eagles is the only difficult game, and the Texans at Texas.
I would say the Bengals again. The Bengals is going to be a rough game for them. I know that again. They're what 2-4 now.
Yeah,
but it doesn't. But deceptive because again they're better than they appear. Joe Burrow is that dude, and it's a division game. The Steelers, it's always going to be a rough game. The Chargers, because you're playing your brother, that's also going to be a rough game.
Good point.
I'm not actually worried about the Eagles. I still don't think they're good. I think the Eagles are exactly what they were last year. They're a deceptive team that will win games that they should win. But they're not actually good. I need to see consistency out of them before I'll give them that moniker. You're going to win against the Giants. Steelers will be rough. Texans will be rough. And then you'll win against the Browns again. So, like, at most, they're dropping 1, 2, 4 more games at most. And that puts you 6,
11-6.
12-6, so 11-6.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll drop that far. I think they only lose maybe 2 more games.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's more believable is 13-4. And I think that's a very strong possibility, especially with this kind of offense. I mean, these teams are tough, but look at the defenses that they're playing. These aren't strong defenses. And I think that's where they're going to be, except for until they get to the Texans. I think that's going to be a real tough game for them.
Right. For sure. And real quick, let me just get this out right now because I see Boogie over here being like, hey, yo, easy on the Eagles, but that wasn't good yesterday. I'm going to tell you how it is. This is the breakdown of the NFC East teams. You can take this to the back. The Commanders are the only good team. You are the only good team. The Eagles are a mid team because they can't decide who they want to be. You brought in a superstar like Saquon, but you still can't apparently seal wins unless you have everybody. You got to have AJ and Smith. Like Hurts is starting to remind me of a version of Brock Purdy that can run the ball but turns it over more. So that's its own level of conversation to be had. The Cowboys are boo-boo trash, and the only thing worse than us are the Giants. So that's just and that's coming from someone that how much I like the Cowboys, and I'm just keeping it real. You're not the Eagles aren't good, they're mid. The Commanders are the only good team, and the other two suck. So
we'll see where we go from here. Because I mean, as I said, losing Jonathan Allen is massive for us. I think just trying to make the playoffs is really the focus of the team. Winning the division will be a nice pipe dream if we can make it happen. But I mean, we got the Panthers next. That's going to be a good matchup. I think we have a chance to win that one. Caleb, we're going to get to Caleb. Now that Bears, that doesn't look like a gimme game at all now. And that's going to be a hell of a knockdown, drag out fight at home. Then we got New York. We should beat New York. We should beat Pittsburgh. And then Philly and you guys back to back. That's going to be a tough twosome. I would like us to be 8-2 by the time we play you two, just in case we lose those games. But I'm not with Jonathan Allen going out we don't know what's going on with Brian Robinson's injury. I think that puts a lot of these games in question in terms of victory, but we'll see. And this is going to be a nice test for the kid to see if he can will us into some victories as a damn good quarterback. Because the back half of the season after the Cowboys, the Titans, the Saints, the Eagles, the Falcons, and then you guys again, there's a real possibility to win a few of those games. For sure. So,
You want to hear something fucking wild?
What's up?
Right now, Derrick Henry is averaging 117.3 yards a game, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he does this for all 17 games, he would have enough yards to be the exact year and date that he was born.
Wow.
1,994 yards at 0.1, and he was born on January 1st. So 1994, 1-4 on the back end. Like my dude, he'll probably just hit 2K, but how wild would it be if he hits exactly that amount by the time this is all done? He is going – I genuinely think it'll be the first 2,000-yard rusher we've seen in a minute. Wow. I wonder when was the last – I'm curious. When?
Could be possible. What was the last one? LT? I think LT was the last one.
It was himself. In 2020.
So not that far away, 4 years
He did it once before. I forgot he had 2,027 yards in the 2020 season, bro. He's about to just redo it again. That's crazy.
Yeah. We will see. All right, let's move on to this game. You've been delaying it long enough, Winston, and we got to talk about it. It is the Detroit Lions absolutely demolishing the Cowboys. 47-9 there in Dallas. Jared Goff threw for 315 yards and 3 touchdowns. David Montgomery ran for 2 scores, and Detroit blew them out here. But Detroit did lose pass rusher Aiden Hutchinson to a serious left tibia injury, and now they said he is probably done for the season. He had surgery today to repair, I think it was a fractured fibula and tibia, so he is going to be gone for the rest of the season. But Dak Prescott threw 2 interceptions in the worst home loss since 1988 for the Cowboys, who became the first team since at least 2000 to trail by 14 or more points at halftime in 4 consecutive games on their home field. Playoffs included. Detroit led 27-6 at the break, which puts the combined total of Dallas's halftime deficit at AT&T Stadium, going back to that wild card game, at 110-35. And the current skid followed a 16-game home winning streak that was second longest in franchise history. So it's kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, Dallas was missing Micah Parsons and missing a number of players on this team there. But, man, it seemed like as soon as the Lions got up like 21-24-0, the Cowboys just kind of gave up here overall, Winston. I mean, what do you take away from this game? And do you take away that the Lions are rounding into shape themselves now to be a real worthy opponent in the NFC?
Honestly, it's going to be hard to say once you lost Aiden. There was an interesting stat that said that they had like a 70% chance to make the playoffs with Aiden, and then after losing him, they dropped to about 50. Oof. And they had about a 7% chance to win the Super Bowl, and without Aiden, they dropped to like a 3.5% chance.
Wow.
And that just goes to show the kind of effect that he has on the field.
Yeah.
Like, just looking at him before he went out here, let's take a look. Hutchinson had 3 tackles, 1 solo, 1 sack, and another one with the sack for loss with 3 QB hits. Yeah. That was in the short period of time that he was on the field.
Yeah.
Like, losing him, it seems silly. It's one guy, next man up, and I know that the Lions will remain good. I'm not denying that. But literally losing the man that makes your defense a massive it'd be like losing that year that the Rams won the Super Bowl if Aaron Donald had gone out. You know what I'm saying? If instead of losing Odell Beckham Jr. in the Super Bowl, you had lost like Cooper Kupp, who had just had a potential MVP level season himself.
Well, yeah,
losing your star, like not just star, but superstar defensive player of the year potentially, dude. Yeah. That has more weight than you realize. So I think they'll still make noise. It's going to be hard to see what happens between them and the Vikings. I think they'll definitely make the playoffs. Yeah. Don't know if they'll win the division, but then I don't even know how far they get in the playoffs without Aiden. I got to see how the team rallies with him gone now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like losing Chris Jones, right, for the Chiefs defense. This is that kind of level of player. I'm not saying they're equal in terms of talent or ability. I'm saying that he is as important to the Lions as Chris Jones is to the Chiefs defense. And I think that's a massive loss for the Detroit Lions. But, you know, this is part of playing in the NFL, next man up and seeing what you can do. And we'll see. Getting a good victory here, though, is I think the Lions needed a strong victory like this. And we'll see how they take this going forward. The Cowboys is the story here. I mean, like, this is, I don't know what you do in this situation. Jared Jones coming out saying, absolutely, Todd McCarthy is our guy. I'm not interested in making a coaching change. But you can tell, Winston, man, this team is giving up in games once they're down by a little bit, and they're not fighting as hard. Yeah, they fought back against the Ravens, but that was more Dak, like, forcing them to get into it. But even Dak, I think, watching him on the sidelines, he looks completely distraught at what's happening out there on that field.
This reminds me, this fully reminds me of when Wade Phillips got fired.
Oh,
we are at that moment.
Wade Phillips level right now. Wow,
absolutely. And I want to say in that year, we weren't in week 6. I want to say we were week 4. I think we were 1-3, and it was the same. What the fuck is going on? And then the clapper came in, and the clapper actually got us to 8-8 by the end of that season, which then became a standard he set for the remainder of his tenure. Is Mr. 8-8, 8-8. And if he didn't go 8-8, let's say one year he went 12-4, The following year, he'd go 4-12 to balance it back all out and go 8-8. That's just what he did. So we're not good. And like, I wasn't expecting us to be good. And I think the thing that's the most embarrassing is you got to see it firsthand and you played the Ravens in a week when we had no more than 53 rushing yards. 53 rushing yards only out of our entire team. You could have had Derrick Henry if you had found $6 million a year to pay him.
Right.
That's all you needed. And I put dollars to donuts. I know everybody trying to secure their bag. If you had gone to Dak, less with CD because this is CD's first like major contract. But if you had gone to Dak and said, look, dude, I'm not going to make you the richest quarterback in the league. I'm going to put you in the category. We're going to give you 55, and we'll look at maybe even in a couple years restructuring and giving you that title. We'll give you 55 because we actually can go and get Derrick Henry right now. You can literally have one of the top rushers in the fucking league. Yeah. So CD can catch some shit, and you could get the pressure off of you. But I guarantee you that was not in the conversation. If they had done that, this looks like a very different team, even with the shitty coaching, just because of how good and how game-changing Derrick Henry. But you didn't fix the rush, and you didn't fix the rush defense. And so what did they do? They have the formula: 184 yards on the ground against us, with 2 touchdowns from Montgomery, 63 yards out of Gibbs. Like everybody got in the mix. We're a terrible fucking team.
Plus, you had 5 turnovers. That doesn't help. And so, there's a lot of things that went wrong for the Cowboys here. And I agree with you. I mean, Prescott finished with a 42.2 passer rating, which is the second worst of his career. That is just shocking on so many levels. So I don't know what you do. I mean, you got to change the head coach. I hear you. We're at Wade Phillips level. We're going to talk about a little bit later with Robert Saleh. Like, how the hell are the Jets firing their coach and you guys aren't firing your coach? It's just really a confusing situation. When you look at it,
fire Zimmer at the very least and ask Saleh if he wants to come and fix this defense, because the problem wasn't necessarily the defense with the Jets.
I was just gonna suggest that y'all should go and fire your DC and go get Saleh to come in and coach the thing, and then maybe he takes over a head coach by the end of the year. That's what I would do. 100%.
I have a feeling that maybe Jerry, if he doesn't die of a heart attack after all of this shit that's going to happen all year, that maybe he really is just waiting to bring Belichick in next year.
What?
Maybe.
Stop it.
Maybe.
Oh,
maybe.
No.
There's gotta be a point. There's gotta be a point where I understand he wants the credit.
Yeah.
There has to be a point where you wake up. If you don't give Belichick GM, but you highly consider that, Belichick doesn't want to talk to anybody. Belichick just wants to do his thing, though. The most talking Belichick has done was the roast of Brady, which was hilarious. and then these commercials now. He's been doing commercials with Saban and random people. He doesn't want to talk. He just wants to do his job and go home and beg his 25-year-old. So let him come in, do his job. Talk to the press as much as you want. He'd be like, it was my idea to go ahead and we realized that Saquon was not happy in Philly. So when Belichick was coming in, he was interested in that. We said, go ahead and bring him on as well. And now we are undefeated going into the Super Bowl. Like that's you don't think that, especially that there's a point at which your ego has to get out of the way. And you got to ask the question, what do you really, truly want?
Yeah. It's a bad situation all around. And I can't believe I felt sympathy for you sacks of shit. Like, I hate the Cowboys, but I sat there watching you guys and I was like, this is just sad to see them give up. This is a proud organization. Seeing players give up like this is rough, man. Just rough.
Dude, so, I mean, look, in the same way that I told you a couple weeks ago, how the fuck am I cheering for the Commanders? Yeah. That's how you know how bad things have gotten. And how good things look for y'all in the future. That's crazy that we both would feel that way.
Right now. Yeah, I know. I agree. Right now. Come on, Jade. All right. Let me hit you with a couple of these things. I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but a certain player for the Raiders got mad at his coach. And now people are saying, well, what about a trade here for the Detroit Lions? This is Max Crosby pushing get out of my, I don't think I've seen
is that Pierce?
I don't think that's the head coach. I think that's one of the side coaches. But wow, did he throw him, man? Look at this. Get away from me, son. Get away from me. So now people are proposing this trade. Lions get defensive end Max Crosby, 2025 6th-round pick. The Raiders get the 2025 first-round pick, 2026 first-round pick, 2026 4th-round pick, defensive end James Houston. Listen, that's a lot. That's a lot to give up for
two firsts and a fourth.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. That is a lot.
That's a lot to give up.
That's a lot to give up. You might go a first. You can pick what year you want it, a second and a fourth, but not 2 firsts.
I know 2 firsts.
You're not giving up 2 firsts for a contract you're going to eventually have to pay out too.
Yeah.
That's a bad. I understand that you're sort of in a win now moment, but that to me feels like a bad plan.
Yeah. I mean, the other option is they go get Hassan Reddick from the Jets, right? I mean,
he's just sitting there not paid. You have to pay him too, but
yeah, he's got new agents. I think now's the time to swoop in if there was ever a time to swoop in to go get Hassan from the Jets, for God's sakes. That's a very real possibility. So
yeah, I'm sorry, Haskell. That wasn't meant to make you feel bad, bro. But it's you still haven't paid arguably your second best player. I don't even think Rodgers is top. He's like the bottom of the 4. I think it goes probably Reddick, who hasn't been paid, Wilson, Breece Hall, and then Aaron Rodgers. If we're being honest, Aaron's got the experience, sure, but he ain't playing like he's Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron is toilet paper because he's scooping out shit, man. All right, let's move on to the next game here. CJ Stroud led the Texans past the Patriots 41-21, throwing 3 touchdown passes. They spoiled the debut of New England rookie quarterback there, Drake May. Joe Mixon, who was coming back off injury after 3 games, ran for 102 yards, caught a touchdown pass from Stroud as well. Stephon Diggs had 6 catches for 77 yards and a touchdown. Tank Dell had 7 receptions for 57 yards and a touchdown. Damian Pierce even ripped off a 54-yard touchdown run in the 4th quarter, finished with 76 yards on 8 carries. May did all right. May was 20 of 33 for 243 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he was intercepted twice. He was sacked 4 times, one of them resulting in a fumble. So New England had 4 turnovers overall in this game and lost their 5th straight game of the season here. But the Texans, man, Winston, Texans, I had some doubts about them initially at the beginning of the season. They are starting to look like that Texans team from last year. So what do you take away from both of these teams from this game?
What I don't understand was is because who was the other quarterback that they were running previously?
Jacoby Brissett.
Was he hurt?
Yes, but also inefficient in the offense. I mean, Drake May threw more touchdowns in this game than Brissett has thrown all year.
And I understand that.
That's 3-2.
I understand that, and he still did well. But why would you put your rookie quarterback, as we've seen these other rookies get just slapped around? Why would you put him in such a rough game to start? That Texans defense is no joke. You're 1 week away from the Jags. Like, why wouldn't you either A, have played him last week against the Dolphins, because we know the Dolphins are sorry and you ended up losing that game, or why don't you wait a week and do it against the Jags? You wait to put him up against the rookie of the year from last year, who is in enough conversations he's a far cry in my opinion, but at least in the conversation for MVP, a team that's fucking rolling. That just seems like rookie coaching mistake in my opinion, to let this be his debut. But maybe you just really, especially because you also didn't have Stevenson. Stevenson was out with an injury. So you also don't have your starting running back to kind of help guide him along there. Either way, good for Drake May for kind of sticking it out and having a respectable way to start. I hope none of that stuff puts any fear in him. But yeah, the Texans, in my opinion, are going to very easily win their division. The Jaguars are a joke. The Colts are kind of iffy. And then the last team in that division is the Titans. The Titans aren't very good. So I think the Texans are going to run away with their division. I think that they're going to be one of those 4 teams that you really have to look for out of the AFC. And you have no idea how this might go, because Stroud now, and so does who's their coach down there?
Damn. Go ahead. Yeah. I'll look it up. Go ahead.
But either way, you've got a situation where this team looks so.
Yeah, D'Amico Ryans.
There it is, D'Amico Ryans. You have a team that genuinely looks like they've kind of learned from their experiences and are putting it together. And it reminds me of the Lions, not this past. They remind me of the Lions of last year. Because the Lions of the year before that were like, damn, are the Lions actually starting to become good? And then now, last year, you're in the NFC title game. You're very close to taking it over the edge.
Yeah,
that's what the vibes the Texans are giving me right now, is that they could very much run up into an AFC title game. The main thing that it's all going to come down to is matchups. It's going to come down to who has to play whom throughout the playoffs.
Yeah. Next week's going to be fun. They're at Green Bay. That's going to be a fun game. Texans at the Packers. That's a good, like, kind of almost mid-season game to see where you're at overall as a team, because they're 5-1, and the only loss they've taken is to the undefeated Minnesota Vikings. So it's not a shameful loss. So
yeah, it's not at all. You beat the Bills, who are always supposed to be a favorite.
Yep.
I mean, I guess that's the thing. That's the only thing. You could make the argument they've only played two good teams. So that's the only thing that you could really say there. I know the Bears are starting to look a little bit better, but the Colts clearly, like we said, aren't necessarily that good. So it's just the Vikings and the Bills. So we'll see. They've got a little bit of a gauntlet here. You got to play the hot Packers. You're playing another division game against the Colts. The Jets don't seem like much of a threat, but then you got to deal with the Lions. You got to lay up against the Cowboys. So, and then you got to play the Chiefs and the Ravens at the end there. So back to back, you play. My God, you play the Chiefs the week before Christmas. 4 days later, you play the Ravens on Christmas. Oh Lord, division like seeding will be decided in that final week.
Those are going to be some rough games, man. I can't wait.
Lost Nico. I forgot they lost Nico Collins.
Right.
He's in IR, so he'll be back. We'll see how long, but damn.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, if they crush those Chiefs, I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's move on to the next game here. What do we got? It is, Romeo Doubs came back from after being suspended for the week by the Packers to catch 2 touchdown passes from Jordan Love out of 4 that Jordan Love threw there in this 34-13 victory for the Packers over the Arizona Cardinals. This was kind of surprising in that they crushed the Cardinals so bad. I know we beat the Cardinals, but it seemed like they'd learned some things against us that maybe they were going to play a little bit better. They'd gotten a victory, I think, the next week after they lost to us, but in the end, just could not do enough to battle through these Packers and ended up losing it. And to add insult to injury, they lost Marvin Harrison Jr. to a concussion in the second quarter. So that's a rough loss for the Cardinals as well. Kyler Murray went 22 of 32 for 214 yards, including an 18-yard touchdown. And James Conner only ran for 24 yards on 7 carries. So the Packers look good again, man. My man is back. Jordan Love is back, and the Packers are humming here, man. This is exciting. This is exciting to see good teams playing well as we hit almost the mid-season section of the season. So I'm excited to see this. And I like their victory here. And the Cardinals, man, I don't know where they're going, dude. Your thoughts on these games, on this teams, rather?
The Cardinals feel like Harvey Dent, bro. They're very much out here looking like Two-Face. That 1 minute they're good, 1 minute they're bad. They're very good at playing against their division is really what it kind of boils down to. And I think that's a big loss. You lose the number 2 pick, or he was number 3 or 4, something like that. Like in the whole of the draft.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's hopefully it's just a week. But you know that's gonna limit you on offense. But you got to give Kyler Murray credit that he took no sacks. He only had 1 turnover and a fumble. I didn't see the fumble, so we don't know if it was a botched snap or something. Maybe you saw it. I don't know. But
no, it was a standard fumble. Yeah.
Okay. And it was at the end of the game to win it.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is what it is. You're tired at that point. That's not great. But like Jordan Love is proving he deserved every dollar.
Yeah.
He deserved every dollar that he's gotten. It shows how different they were when he went down week 1. I'm glad Romeo Doubs had manned up. That this receiving core is kind of crazy that they're all getting in the mix with touchdowns and, somewhere between like 40 and 100 yards, depending on the game. Like he's spreading it out.
Yeah,
they are a dangerous team. The NFC North is going to be a ridiculous photo finish.
Again. Yeah, I know.
They remain this way. I don't know how this keeps happening. It keeps happening that some combination of the Packers, Lions, Packers, Bears, Packers, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. This is just going to be a thing, I guess, in for eternity. I don't know. Like,
it's madness. It is utter madness. Because the Packers have been on a consistent run of great quarterbacks since Favre, right? I mean, Favre
to Rodgers to Lord and Love.
It's a little, and I remember when people were like, Jordan Love, no way. This is why they're holding on to Aaron for so long, because they don't trust in Jordan. And all Jordan needed was one season to kind of figure out timing, figure out patterns. And then by the end, he was rolling with this team, almost upset those 49ers in the playoffs. I mean, this is a great quarterback in the making, man. And so it's so much fun to see. And by the way, I'm going to throw this out. It's incredible, having lived as long as I've lived, to sit in an NFL now where there are so many great black quarterbacks. Like, it really is incredible to sit and see how commonplace it is now for a great black quarterback to play another great black quarterback in the NFL every week in the season. This was not what I grew up with. And so the fact that I'm a Redskins Washington football team Commanders fan. When Doug Williams was the first black quarterback in the Super Bowl, like, it was a huge deal. And to see now how many great black quarterbacks are coming through the NFL, it's just such a joy to see it happen. Jordan Love being one of the great ones that's on the cusp of becoming another legend for the Packers fans, So it's great to see, dude. Great to see.
Arguably, there are 10, 11. They're arguably about you got benched. There are 11 starting black quarterbacks at this particular time.
Crazy is that?
How many MVP? Like, at least like 4 or 5 MVPs between them. Let alone I left out. I forgot about Jalen. So there are 12. How many first team all pros, how many second team all pros? It's phenomenal. And the one thing I haven't had a chance to watch yet is the rise of the black quarterback. I heard that documentary is actually pretty good. And it's amazing to see what happens. But I think the one thing that we have seen above all else, how many of these guys, not just the black ones, but any of these rookie quarterbacks, the ones that end up kind of good tend to be the ones that had to sit and watch a little bit and did not get thrown into the fire. Like, exceptions happen, but like, if you look at all the starting quarterbacks right now, pretty much all of them, even if they only sat half a season because injury struck, even that was enough to help. Because you look at Dak didn't start until like week 6 or 7 when Romo took that last injury, and then he took over. Jordan Love sat behind Aaron, 2 years? Was it?
Yeah, 2 years. Yeah. Oh, I think a little bit longer than 2 years. Yeah.
Something like that. You got Gino the opportunity to then go and sit behind Russell and learn from Pete for a while to help unlearn some bad habits that were like forming in him and whatnot. CJ was one of the rare that got thrown into the fire immediately, but you clearly had a good coach that was able to kind of guide him. Justin Fields, just by the nature of going to a better coach and having Russell around to also help rebuild his confidence. He's not a world beater, but he's looking pretty good. Even Patrick Mahomes waited behind Alex Smith for a little bit, but then became a god. Like, I need these teams, keep vets around, let them start for a bit, let these young guys learn something, and then hand them the keys to the kingdom. Like, stop thinking you're just going to magically draft someone first overall and they're just going to solve all your problems because you're asking for trouble.
The new season, week 1, started 15 black quarterbacks in 2024. Jacoby Brissett, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Jordan Love, Kyler Murray, Anthony Richardson, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Geno Smith, CJ Stroud, Deshaun Watson, Caleb Williams, Russell Wilson, and Bryce Young. And here's the crazy, even the backup quarterback situation, right? Because with Jordan Love going down, it was who came in there? Who was it that came in there? It was a former star player there. He came in to replace Jordan Love and carry Malik Willis. Yeah, carried the team for like a couple of weeks there. So even in the backup area, there's a lot of backup black quarterbacks that are sitting on benches as well, ready to take snaps and whatever. So anyway, just want to throw that out, that it's a great thing to see, having lived as long as I've lived.
I got it wrong. So I forgot Kellen Moore broke his right tibia week 1 of training camp.
Yeah.
Dak fought out Josh McCown, Jamil Showers for the backup role, and Romo had a vertebrae compression fracture in the 3rd preseason game.
Oof.
Holy shit, I completely forgot. Dak started right away, but I guess even there is still a difference. I will tell you this, and we also know that a lot of that was Zeke, being the monster that he was, that took pressure off you. When you have a situation where you at least didn't have the initial pressure of you will be the starter with the way that training camp went and all that.
Yeah,
it's absorb versus you're our savior. There is a mentality you're putting onto somebody when you're asking them to do that shit right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%, dude, 100%. Yeah, as I said, backups Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston. That's 2 black quarterbacks that are backing. I have Terod Taylor over there for the Jets. Malik Willis, as I mentioned, as well. I mean, so you've got some really strong black quarterbacks that are even backing up. Josh Johnson, who's over there for the Ravens. So, yeah, there's a few of them that are sitting there and having some fun with it. So I think it's a great thing to see in the NFL, how much progress we've seen. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, all right, let's move on to the last game, I think.
We got 2?
No, we got 2. Sorry, let's move on to Caleb Williams. Speaking of emerging great black quarterbacks, I need to eat so much crow right now, man. This kid has figured it out, bro. He threw 4 touchdowns, and Cole Kmet handled the long snaps for the Bears as they defeated the Jaguars, the hapless Jaguars, 35-16 in London. Cole Kmet had 2 touchdowns. Oh, I'm so glad I dropped him last week in fantasy. Also caught 2 touchdown passes. Did a tea party celebration with us. That was really funny here. And Gabe Davis did catch 2 touchdown passes from Trevor Lawrence, making it 35-16. But this was pretty much a done deal. Caleb Williams went 23 of 29 for 226 yards with 4 TDs, 1 interception, picked up 56 yards on 4 carries. So, man, Trevor was 23 of 35 for 234 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Ingram had 10 catches for 102 yards. This is Chicago's first 3-game winning streak since the 2020 season. This is kind of scary. I mean, I'm seeing Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams doing fantastic work there as rookies stepping in for their teams, man. Got to give props to Caleb. He has more weapons, and he's making use of them, bro. This Bears team could be super dangerous, way quicker than anyone thinks.
I mean, they still have a line problem. He was sacked 3 times.
Yeah.
You know, there you put a lot of pressure on him with dropbacks and whatnot. So you got to keep an eye on that. But that was the one thing I was like, just let's give the kid a moment. You threw again. You're throwing this insane pressure of you are our savior. Fix it now in an organization that is known for breaking quarterbacks. So like, and on top of that, your starting salvo were the Texans, which is no joke. The Colts are kind of iffy, so I don't know where the loss came in. But again, this team wasn't very good. And you didn't have Keenan Allen. Like, you went and got him, but the main issue with Keenan Allen remains he constantly is hurt. That's the problem. He's always hurt. You won against the Rams, but not necessarily because you did anything crazy. But now he had 2 layup games in the Panthers and the Jaguars to give him time to breathe, which is kind of what I was saying about Drake May. But he played well. Give him a layup game if they're not starting right away, or to try and get their rhythm. And now he's got a serious battle against you guys. Yeah. This coming week, or 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So you got the bye week to rest, look at some tape, and kind of see what you do next. Yeah, and then you got to roll, because Cardinals, I think you can beat. Patriots, I think you can do. Then you got to deal with the Packers. You got to deal with the Vikings. You got to deal with the Lions. You got to deal with the Niners. You got to deal with the Vikings. You have to deal with the Lions. You have to deal with Seahawks. You have to deal with the Packers. That's the rest of their schedule. That's it. Hey, I don't expect Caleb to win even half of those games, and that would still be a success on the season just because of how good the rest of these teams are. But a solid win against the Packers either time, a solid win against the Vikings either time. If you take out the night, bro, Chicago be set. If you win 2 to 3 of those insane games, either in the division or otherwise, Caleb is good to go. That's all I need to see him do is give me 2 or 3 of those. Don't try and shoot for the moon. Like if you do shoot for the moon, you'll at least make it into orbit. You know what I'm saying? I just need you to get into orbit, my guy. That's it.
Yeah. Here's some analysis here from the Ringer. Caleb Williams is growing more comfortable and accurate by the week. He's routinely working deep into his progressions and is already attacking tight windows over the middle of the field with the confidence of a 10-year veteran. He's calling shots before the snap with that same level of confidence, and now he's becoming more comfortable with the run support that he gets from the Chicago Bears running game. They're 4-2, and the playoffs, it seems like it's a possibility at this point. So, I mean, this is fascinating to watch this happening with Caleb and Jaden, seeing them figuring out the position so quickly. It reminds me, well, I don't want to upset Winston A. Marshall, but it reminds me of a young Caitlin Clark coming into the WNBA and figuring out the WNBA in her rookie year very quickly. I mean, it was shocking to see that by halfway point of the season after the Olympics, she absolutely went full Neo and just figured it all out.
First of all, I said a million times, I was never denying the girl's talent. We've talked about this. If you want to have another conversation, we can. She's been retired for the last week and a half, 2 weeks.
Don't make me do JD Vance. Don't make me do JD Vance.
Fuck a couch?
No. That look at the debate.
But Rocha, it's funny you mentioned that. I don't want to upset you, but I was about to say about Caleb Williams, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22. Everything gonna be all right if you keep me next to you. Like my guy is 22 years old and balling the fuck out. Give him a minute. Let him roll. Right. You don't know about me, but I'll bet you'll want to, dog.
Yeah.
Just let him cook. He'll get there. He'll totally fucking get there.
I have a lot of faith in him, man. Yeah, I love it. I'm going to enjoy watching the Bears games, brother, because I do quietly kind of like Chicago, and so seeing them with a good quarterback is going to be a lot of fun to see, especially with that defense matching up with Chicago. And they've got more weapons than the Commanders do. So I expect Caleb to make more noise possibly by the end of the year than the Commanders with Jaden, which will happen as people see that this is a good team. What about these Jags, man? I think Pedersen plays. You think he coaches through London because they're in London again next week? You think he stays, enjoys a 1-week trip to London, vacationing, coaches the game, and then he's fired on the tarmac if they lose to the Patriots? What are your thoughts on this?
I feel like didn't Florida already suffer enough the last 2 weeks that their teams have to be this bad? Wow. Like Jesus Christ, bro. Like, oh my God. It's and it actually makes me wonder, to be honest with you, with the way that they're getting shellacked and having to travel internationally right now.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that all of these players, a lot of them did spend time not leaving right away with the team to make sure that their families were safe and out of the way from these storms coming. So I genuinely think that it's rough for them. And I forgot they're the unofficial London team. So they're just staying out there, aren't they?
Yes, I'm saying they're staying out there through the week. So Doug, go and see all the sites because you're not going to have a job Monday morning. So you might as well enjoy the sites for a whole week in London before they let you go, man. Use the company money, for God's sake.
No, for sure. So I get it. We're about to talk about the Bucs against the Saints. I understand that they are 4-2. I do see that comment that just came in from Jeremy Miller, but something's got to be said about you got Jekyll and Hyde, Baker Mayfield out there this past Sunday. So ultimately you felt good by the way he finally figured it out and got to the finish line there, but you went up against a rookie quarterback trying to sort his shit out. Ain't no need to have those 3 interceptions right away and be like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. It's a tough situation, man. I don't think McCarthy or Pedersen make it by the end of the year. I just there's no way.
Who do you think's the next mid-season firing? You think Pedersen?
I think Pedersen 100%, especially if they lose to Drake May, he might get fired on the field. Like that's
we ain't seen that before. I want to see that.
I don't care what Shahid Khan says. I don't care what he says. It's very clear that this is a team that's lost its way, and they don't care. I mean, they had what's his face up there saying how he felt like they hadn't where's his name? Yeah, Andre Sisco for the Jaguars in a post game interview said this team has, quote, a lot of quit in it. Even though Doug Peterson said at the post game press conference, I feel like the guys, they don't quit, they keep fighting. So there's a disconnect here, and there's a disconnect. If you're getting a disconnect between your players and your coach, I don't know how much longer your head coach can hang out and be a part of this. And look, this isn't all on Doug. Trevor is heading very close to Jake Delhomme territory. We're in Mark Sanchez. We're in Mark Sanchez field. I think we're in Mark Sanchez field, where it's like there was all this promise, and he looked like he was playing great, but he has absolutely regressed the last 2 seasons, and you can tell by the play of that team. And so I just think in the end, it's a bad situation overall for both Trevor and Doug. And what do you do? Get another head coach to try to get something out of Trevor? Or do you just cut your losses and send Trevor out into the wilderness? I don't understand.
It's a great question, man. I mean, I just wanted to look real quick to try and compare opening salvos here for rookie quarterbacks, because we were still kind of discussing that a little bit. I agree with you. I think Pedersen, if they lose in London, he can just stay in London. They go find you some nice woman in London to get married to. But Andrew Luck, if you remember, lost that first game to the Bears 41-21.
Yeah.
And then won his next. He was very hot and cold. It was a loss, a win, a loss, a win, a loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. Like, he got his groove. So to that point, I think you're having the same situation where I think Caleb is just trying to find his groove. That's it. Once he finds it, I think he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's one last one here. Let's jump into it. As Winston previewed already, Baker Mayfield threw for 4 touchdowns as the Buccaneers crushed the Saints 51-27. Eventually, I know the Saints came back and made it a tight game in the middle of the game, but then the Bucs really pulled away and won 51-27. Baker overcame 3 turnovers. You're not going to stop that Baker Mayfield, unfortunately, with 325 yards and 4 touchdowns. Spencer Rattler was making his first NFL start. He's the rookie quarterback for the New Orleans Saints there. But the Bucs pulled ahead on Chris Godwin's second touchdown of the game, a 55-yarder short catch and long run there. The Bucs rushed for 277 yards as a team, for God's sakes. Bucky Irvin added 81 yards in a short touchdown there. And Tampa Bay became just the 5th team in NFL history to have at least 300 yards and 275 yards rushing in a game. The Bucs 594 total offensive yards were the second most ever yielded by the Saints ever in their history as a football club. And Rattler, who was intercepted twice, finished 22 of 40 for 243 yards and a touchdown. Alvin Kamara scored his 7th touchdown there when Rashid Shaheed scored a punt return as well for a touchdown. So this Bucs team, man, it's a tough team. They're going to be a tough little out. They're going to be like that pesky team that gets into the playoffs and you don't want to play them, right? I mean, they're kind of that scary team that you might not necessarily want to play them, because if they've got the passing game and the running game going at this kind of level, they can be quite dangerous in a one-off series or one-off play game rather in the playoffs. What are your thoughts on both of these teams coming out of this game here, man?
Yeah, I want to see. I think the one thing that I'm missing out of Tampa Bay is a consistent running situation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because Baker can be hot and cold. He's for the most part good, but he can be hot and cold. Like if I look real quick out of them, Tampa Bay. Okay, so they have the advantage of playing 6 games right now. Yeah. So you know what? Maybe I'm eating a little crow. They're averaging 136 yards per game on the ground. So maybe I'm not. I was wrong about that. But I know that Rashid White, who was out, had been very hit or miss one way or the other. Bucky Irvin really is stepping up and may have fully supplanted him as the starter by the time this is all said and done.
Yeah.
But what did I tell you about the Saints? Like the Cowboys,
4 losses in a row after those opening 2 victories that were so massive, dude.
Oh my God, they scored so many points, but it's like the teams you played apparently were not good. And specifically the Cowboys were awful, which overinflated your stats by a lot. But I tell you about Derek Carr, can't be trusted, and then he's gonna get hurt. And he did. And truthfully, Rattler had 2 interceptions, and he had moments where he looked like a rookie. But how much of this game did you watch, Rocha?
I watched the highlights. I watched during Red Zone, you know what I'm saying? And then watched the highlights on YouTube. Yeah.
He looks pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And to the point where that may be it for Derek Carr in New Orleans. If he puts another couple games together, Derek might get regulated to the backup, and then they might just cut their losses after this year.
Yeah. Well, he's got that oblique injury, and we don't know how that's going to affect him in his throwing motion and how long that's going to affect him. This is a rookie quarterback. You know, if you can coach up a rookie quarterback, you as a head coach, you've bought yourself at least 2 more years of job security. So for me, that's what I would look at in this situation is, look, we saw some promising things from the kid. The team itself rallied and got us close in the middle of the game before the Bucs kind of took off with the score. But clearly there's some fight here. If we can get him some more seasoning, and we're seeing how great these other rookie quarterbacks are playing, like Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams, we need to get him more game time to see if he can get up to speed. I mean, Bo Nix has been playing decent the last few weeks as well. So there's possibilities here for Spencer Rattler to get some playing time here for the Saints.
Hey man, I mean, including the fact that you didn't even have your your number 1 receiver in Olave. His very first catch, he got clocked so hard he fumbled and ended up with a concussion and was out. So like you still Shaheed is not to be like, there's an argument that Shaheed has taken the reins as the top receiver in New Orleans at this point. Especially because he's so Swiss Army knife. He feels like Olave feels very Ayuk, and he feels very Debo. So you could make that argument if you wanted to make comps here. I
think it's good comparisons.
Give him back his top receiver and see how he does and where this goes. And the Saints, at the very least, could be competitive, but that could also mean that you could finally jettison Carr potentially, since he really hasn't been able to get it done.
Yeah.
And at this rate, Dennis Allen is probably done this year unless they win out the rest of the year, which they won't do that.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's going to happen. Jeremy says Sean Payton returns to New Orleans this Thursday, so we will see what the Saints offense does against a good Broncos defense. That's for sure. But we'll see. But Sean Payton is kind of a fraud of a coach right now. A lot of people starting to feel like he's a bit of a fraud of a coach. So we'll see what Sean Payton does as head coach. Going back to New Orleans. And don't be surprised that Sean Payton comes back to New Orleans next season. I don't know. Anything's crazy. Everything's crazy in the NFL.
I mean, look, Sean Payton clearly is not doing his daily dose of Molly anymore. So maybe that's what's going on. He just needs to get his buzz back and he'll be fine. You're seeing plays in his mind come to life like a augmented reality simulation, Rocha.
That's how he's built. All right, let's hit these other games here as we wrap up this section of the show. Brock Purdy threw for 3 touchdowns, and the 49ers beat the Seahawks on Thursday night, 36-24, to move to the top of the division. Even with all the shit they've gone through, they're at top of the division now. Jalen Hurts threw 2 touchdown passes to lead the Eagles past the Browns 20-16. Woof, that's it. Joe Flacco threw 2 touchdown passes as the Colts beat the Titans 20-17. Will Levis, stop selling me mayonnaise and learn to play the fucking position. Herbert led the Chargers to a 23-16 victory over the Broncos, who lost Patrick Surtain to a concussion in the game. Najee Harris had his first 100-yard rushing game for the Steelers as they beat the Raiders. I mean, crushed the Raiders 32-13. Bijan Robinson scored 2 touchdowns as the Falcons beat the Panthers 38-20 for their 3rd straight victory against the Panthers. And Joe Burrow ran for a touchdown, and the Bengals defense carried them to victory past the Giants 17-7. What do you want to say about any of these games here, Winston? Anything stand out?
I mean, I kind of already talked about, like, who cares about the Falcons and the Panthers? Panthers aren't good. We know the Raiders are a disaster, and the Steelers are going to do what they do. It'll be more interesting to talk about the Broncos next week against the Saints. It's just that you see a quiet Harbaugh doing what he does and making the Chargers a decent threat. I'm very curious to see where they go forward. I think the thing I got to talk about, and I already, tipped my hat to it a little bit earlier, is that the Eagles just They really don't know if they want to be good or not. The Eagles remind me of the 8-8 Cowboy teams.
Ooh.
Why would it be this close against the Browns? The Browns. You even had AJ Brown back.
Yeah.
Why? There is no reason that it should be this close against what is considered one of the worst teams in the NFL. I understand any given Sunday, but if you're supposedly all I hear from Eagles fans specifically, because you just went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, is that you're a Super Bowl contending team. You have the talent. It's the same coach. It's the same quarterback. You upgraded it running back from Swift to Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Why was this close? It should never have been this close. That is crazy.
Yeah. It's madness to me that it was this close. 4 points? 4 points, Winston. What are we talking about? It's nonsense. Utter nonsense. I do want to show a couple of videos here, Winston, get your thoughts on this. Let's go through these real quick. I love these NFL videos the next morning because I don't catch everything in the games. But, they banned the gun celebration. So Will Levis has now resorted to the Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, I love it, bro. I love it. That's fire.
Can't come after me for that. Can't come after me for that one. Where was I? Sorry about that. And did you see this Joe Burrow run last night against the Giants?
Yeah, I eventually, because I got the thing. It was something crazy, right? It was
insane. It was like 54 yards.
Yeah. No, I got that notification because that was early. And I was like, man, I hope that Burrow does well because it's going to be tight for me in fantasy. And that run was huge.
That's so true. Also, did you see some of your fans here throwing up during the game?
They're getting grittied by the Lions fans. Yeah, no, I saw not the other Cowboys fan also grittying. Yeah, she's throwing up because what she saw was just a complete travesty, bro. All of a sudden, she felt herself getting alcohol poisoning, and the alcohol was watching the Cowboys.
For sure. Oh, and then, of course, what you mentioned earlier, I think has to be stressed. Is the NFC North the best division in football? Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? I mean, Jared Goff, Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, and then my man up there, Sam Darnold for the Vikings. I mean, this is crazy, bro. This is crazy. I do want to highlight one bad one here. I don't know if I can share it again, but this is fucking sick shit to see. Just letting you guys know ahead of time. Where is it here? There. So some Baltimore Ravens fan, I think his name, they said his name was Jack Callis, and he was going around as a Ravens fan, punching Commanders fans after the game, knocking them out, punching them. Look at this. And he was apparently hunting for these guys. This is ridiculous. This doesn't belong in the NFL. This is not what a fan should be doing. And hopefully they've put a link into his work. And I tried to link to it earlier this morning to leave a complaint, and they've shut that whole page down on their website. So they found where this guy is. They found his work, and this is not the way to be in the NFL and do those kinds of things. I mean, it's maddening, man, to see that happen.
It's unfortunately the nature of the world that we live in right now.
Yeah,
tensions are insanely high. That is even though they are similar to when you see the Jets and the Giants play.
Yeah.
When you used to see Oakland and the Niners, the Texans, Houston, there is this.
Yeah.
We're not in the same conference. We're not in the same division, but it's a cross-city rivalry. And we are in such a tumultuous election cycle.
Yeah.
Not just that, where social media has gotten, and also the idea of just with clout, people are in this weird, violent space. And that doesn't excuse it at all. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
But I am not entirely surprised because you could have something as simple as calling bullshit the Kung Fu virus and then attack every elderly Asian person you see. You can say something that, Haitians are eating dogs and cats, and all of a sudden there's, bomb threats at schools. You could say that FEMA is trying to take your land, and now armed militias are stopping people from getting the real help that they need. So I'm not surprised that a drunken piece of shit thought it was okay to go run up on the opposing fans after you already won the game. Like, what the fuck is your problem?
It's just crazy. One last one to maybe lighten the mood a little bit. What's going on with Nick Sirianni here, Winston? Going after his own fans in Philadelphia. Look at this. He is going after his own fans. Oh, I can't hear you cheering for us. I can't hear you talking shit about my team. Like what? They beat the Browns by 4. Do you want to be talking shit to your fans when you only win by 4? Like, I just don't understand the logic of this. He apologized for it this morning, but still, Winston, this is a bad look. Nothing tells me the Eagles are in trouble than this, man.
Look, man, you know when people lash out, they lash out when something else is stressing them the fuck out.
Yeah.
And the fact that they almost lost to the Browns, again, any given Sunday, but the main complaint about the Eagles are, how are you a Super Bowl attending team 2 years ago? You haven't changed that much. If anything, you've upped your personnel.
Supposedly,
and you look this much worse. Yeah. Like that is the thing. And Sirianni has, in my opinion, I've never been a fan of his because he's always kind of had the I'm fucking walking here like asshole kind of situation, but not a whole hell of a lot to back it up with.
Right.
Like, yes, I understand you made it to the Super Bowl. I understand it was pretty close, but like, what have you done since? Again, when you look at the wins from the eye test, if you're just looking at a piece of paper, then you would go, oh, wow, that's actually not bad. But when you actually look at what's going on, you wanted to scream at the Chiefs fans when they barely won that game. Shut up. I don't think he is. Stay there as long as you want, because I actually think you're the reason holding the Eagles back. And so by all means, I hope you hold on to your job for a long time.
He's like Paulie Walnuts in The Sopranos. He reminds me of Paulie Walnuts. It's like he's a mafia guy coaching the Eagles. It's kind of crazy.
That mafia kid from the Giants last year. What happened to him? What's his name?
He's back serving pizza, I think. But because they had that guy on the sidelines who was like apparently the enforcer who got kicked off the sidelines by the NFL because he got into it with some of the players from the other team. He's like, what the hell is going on here? Don't you touch Mr. Sirianni. You don't touch Sirianni. It's that kind of bullshit.
Yeah. It was Tommy DeVito.
Tommy DeVito. Tommy DeVito. From Jersey.
Tommy D throwing them touchdowns. Danny DeVito.
All right, Tommy, you're gonna lose this one. You're going down in the 5th. What? Anyway, all right. Let's move on to this, man. Let's talk about this as we're wrapping up. I know you got to get going to your callback, brother. Good luck to you, my man. Thoughts on the Robert Saleh firing Winston? This was kind of out of nowhere, to be honest with you. And a lot of news reports are coming out that it was very much Aaron Rodgers related, that apparently on the way back from London, this is what some of the news reports said, Robert Saleh and some of the coaches got together and said they were going to remove some of the play calling duties from Nathaniel Hackett. He ran it by his coaches on Monday. They pretty much agreed. Then he told Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, what he was going to do, and he was going to take over, get some other people to take over more of the play calling and kind of reduce Nathaniel Hackett's influence on the offense because he felt like that's really where the issues are. And Woody either called Aaron Rodgers or Aaron Rodgers found out and called Woody about it. And Aaron was asked about it, and Aaron said, I'm not happy with it. And then Woody apparently made the next call to Robert Saleh and fired him. And they fired him like Collider fired me. And by that, I mean, they didn't let me check my email. They just let me pack my things, and they had security walk me out, which was so embarrassing. So hearing about Robert Saleh being walked out by security was disgusting. And I just, this is a guy who bent over backwards to fucking help your team to ride through all Woody Johnson's bullshit, and you're going to fire him like this? Like he's some shitty accountant on the 10th floor, and you got security walk him out. And Aaron Rodgers, of all people, coming out saying he's taking offense that anyone would think he had anything to do with this is fucking disgusting. So what are your thoughts on all this, man?
I mean, look, Saleh probably, if we're being honest, needed to be fired. I think that he is a good no. Real talk. I think
that's fair. I think that
it was probably going to be the end of the season.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But unless they like went on a run, but he probably needed to be fired because the one thing that he's in my opinion great as far as like a defensive coordinator and what he's been doing with the defense, but as far as being like the leader of the team, and whether that's because he's just not there yet to be able to do that, or because Rodgers has been throwing a monkey wrench in this the whole time, even when he was injured, if he was doing stuff that was messing stuff up, Like maybe Aaron was the one that was like, no, you don't go get another quarterback. I want to look better by Zach being so bad and we'll get a higher draft pick or whatever. Those are all real things that I could see Aaron Rodgers orchestrating to happen. But Saleh needed to be fired. Now, for this to go down the way that it went down, what my issue ultimately becomes, and then that's just up to whoever wants to continue to have Aaron Rodgers there, man. It reminds me, people love to give LeBron shit that every time he goes to a team, he's got to bring all his buddies, and all of a sudden your contracts are all messed up, and he's gonna hire the coach he wants. But what's the one thing that LeBron does to every team?
He wins titles.
He gets you a title.
He went
to Miami, he won you 2. Should have been probably 3, but you let my Mavs just run all over you like that, and then they lost. Did they lose 2? He was there 4 years, right?
Yeah,
4. Okay, he went to Cleveland. Couldn't pull off that first year, but he got one. Left contracts in disarray. But then he went to the Lakers, and it was a bubble, but he went there and he got you a title. So like the one thing that he does, he's good for at least one chip.
Yeah,
just have to deal with the rest of it. What has Aaron done other than personal accolades as far as just winning MVPs? He has the one title to his name, which the more we look at it, it makes you start to wonder, do we need to go dissect how that year played out for that to happen in the first place, where there's crazy injuries to other teams that we're like ignoring here that like allowed for a window to kind of slide in? Because the only thing I see out of Aaron is he'll make insane plays that make no sense when he's at his peak. But he just brings chaos with him. Yeah. He brings so much chaos with him wherever he goes. And that is not good. Like, look how fast the Packers got right once they got rid of him. So I think this is just that curse for the Jets. I would not be surprised if the next thing we hear, if things don't work out with Sam Darnold or JJ, that he ends over the Vikings, does the same shit that
Oh my God. Oh my God. Aaron Rodgers at the Vikings. Oh my God. Yikes. Can you imagine? Oof. I'm just glad that Jaden Daniels is working out, because I know that Snyder had kicked the tires on Aaron Rodgers initially a couple of years ago. And so I'm glad we didn't go down that path, for God's sakes. Yeah, this is where we're happy tonight. All right, let's move on to this situation here tonight. The Bills versus Jets starts in a few hours here, Winston. Who you got on this one, Bills or Jets? Speaking of the Jets.
Bills, that should be an easy layup there. Especially you get an interim head coach type situation. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Aaron Rodgers really hasn't made up his mind entirely if he's back and good again. He's coming off an Achilles injury, so I'm not gonna like sit here and pretend like that's not a real thing. But like Josh Allen looks like one of the front runners to win MVP. That was a pretty bad couple losses you had there.
Yeah.
The way he's playing like kind of pretty crazy when he's on top of it. Because hell, you almost launched the comeback on Houston. It's just you had horrible play calling for the last drive to allow Houston to take that to get through that. I wouldn't even put that on that game. I wouldn't even have put that on Allen. That was on shitty coaching and play calling. So I don't think that the Jets have a legitimate shot here. I think if you find out a coaching situation, and I think if you pay Hassan Reddick, the Jets could mount a comeback throughout the rest of the season. But again, why did you spend all of that clout to go get this man and you still haven't paid him? That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And as long as that's the case, let alone the idea that they're talking about taking the ball away from Bryce Hall more.
Yeah,
I just don't.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I like what Haskell's cracking me up. Haskell said, so okay, LOL. So, which is always condescending when that is. So Saleh was going to remove play calling duties from Hackett, which Aaron Rodgers in some circles is being blamed for. Saleh's fired and the new interim head coach takes away play calling duties from Hackett. That's not what's happening. He says, so it wasn't Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Haskell, I love you, but in no fucking universe does it exist that Aaron Rodgers did not have a massive say over whether Robert Saleh is fired or not. Stop buying this narrative that Aaron Rodgers always pumps out that things happen without me knowing. I have no idea. As vocal as he is, as opinionated as he is, all of a sudden he's going to be a fucking wallflower when he's the head quarterback, when he's the top quarterback in his team? No way. It's of course he had everything to do with it. Of course he fought for his buddy Nathaniel Hackett, and in the end, we're going to see what happens with this interim.
Well,
coach.
I mean, he's not calling the plays. Todd Downing is calling the offensive plays. That did actually happen. Hackett still is not calling offensive plays, so that's true. But
right.
but to say that Aaron had nothing to do with the firing, that I don't believe.
It's nonsense.
That I don't believe, because we have seen who he, like, what's the old saying? It's that when someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them. Yeah, Aaron has shown us who he is. He is a diva. It is about him. He doesn't like the idea of looking like the bad guy. He doesn't. 100%. And when he does, he tries to pass the buck on things or make jokes about things or whatever else. And that could be within football or outside of football. He doesn't like getting critiqued like that. Yeah. So
I don't understand people standing behind Aaron Rodgers still. I just don't understand it. It's kind of mind-blowing to me, but hey, look, 75 million people are going to vote for this other clown. So we will see. All right, let's move on to the last thing here. WNBA, real quick, your thoughts, Winston. The Liberty tied the series up with the Lynx here, 1-1. Are you feeling good? Like they dropped the first game in New York. Does the Liberty, did that wake them up? Is this the 76ers beating the Lakers at home in week 1? In the first game of the NBA Finals all those years ago with Allen Iverson stepping over Tyrone Lue. Is this like a mirage? Do the Liberty go on a 3-game win streak here and finish off the finals, or 2-game win streak and finish off the finals, or what do you think happens here?
It'll just be interesting to see. You're talking about literally, if I believe this was the 1 and 2 seed. So that's what you're supposed to see happen is headbutting and going right at each other. I mean, Collier's been playing out of her mind this postseason, but the Liberty are also, in my opinion, the more stacked team. The Lynx may be the better team as far as just what they're able to do, but the Liberty, to have Stewie, Jonquel Jones, Sabrina Ionescu, like, that's a crazy big 3. Yeah. That is a crazy big 3 to have on your team, and they remind me of the original big 3 that the Celtics put forward of KG and Paul Pierce and Ray Allen. And even more so that connection, because Ray Allen, Sabrina plays more like a Steph, because she can really make her own shot if she needs to. But that same thing, you got your crazy shooter, you got your person that can handle the ball, you got your big going out here and doing the shit. So they're ridiculous. But the Lynx are the number 1 seed for a reason. They have figured out as a unit to rally around Collier and be. So this is what I want to see. Is I just want to see this go the distance. I want to see the full 5-game series and a knockout dragout, because that's what this season deserves, considering how good this season was. So that's what I'm hoping for, man.
And you saw the announcement, what had complained about a few weeks ago when Caitlin got knocked out. Like, we need to have more games in these playoffs. And sure enough, the head of the WNBA came out and said that they're going to have a 7-game series as the finals now, because this is a 5-game series, and then 1-1 for the opening round of the playoffs. I think that's great. 1-1 is great. At least you have 3 games, so you have a chance to go back home and win.
It sucks, but I'll tell you why they did that initially, and we just have to remember the structure in which we were dealing with. And there's a point at which you can't change stuff in the middle of the season. When did they start getting chartered flights? Literally about a couple weeks into the season, when they realized, Caitlin's the money. She can't be flying commercial and people on her face. So then they were like, we need to figure out how to make sure that everybody can get on a chartered flight here. And now that you can do that, you can afford to be like, okay, we're gonna go ahead and fly it. Like, it was a situation before. It's like, I'm sorry, we're New York visiting, or we're Phoenix visiting New York. We can't afford to fly over, fly back, fly over. So just do the 2 games for the person that had the higher seed. And if we make it to a 3rd, then we'll make the transition over. That's what that read like to me. So hopefully they do rectify that situation next year.
Yeah, agreed. So going to be fun to see. All right, well, there you go. That's our. Oh wait, we should see if there's any questions. Yeah. Sorry about that, y'all. Sometimes I get caught up in trying to get through these things and forget that we've got Streamlabs. For God's sake, wait, what's going on here? Why isn't it letting me log in with YouTube? Oh, there it is. Okay, ooh, that was weird. I got freaked out for a second there. Didn't know what was happening. All right, let's get how many of these do we have here? Let me take a look real quick. and see what we got lined up. Okay, here we go. Come on now. Jump in here. All right. Mike Joy says, it's time. Is it time for my fantasy team to give up on Travis Etienne? He was reliable last year, but has been disappointing this year. He's been injured a bunch, and now his backup Tank Bigsby is showing him up. I would say so. I picked up Tank over the weekend, and he only got me 4 points. But I mean, the Jaguars just kind of suck right now. So I don't know why you hold on to Travis Etienne when the team is playing this badly. You know, what do you say?
Just if you have the space to just put him on your bench, put him on your bench. If you have a better opportunity to pick somebody up, then go ahead. But he should not be someone you're starting with until he can prove that he's about to do that. I literally had someone today going, Etienne is on the market, come back of the century, on the way. Who wants him? And I'm like, not me, bitch. So
wow. Mike Joyce also says, as a Bears fan, how should I feel about our head coach, Eberflus? He had a 14-game losing streak over his first 2 seasons, but the defense is really good. Justin Fields didn't do well when he was here, but now he's excelling in Pittsburgh. Yeah, but so is Caleb Williams. So I would say Eberflus couldn't get the job done with Justin because I think Justin is a limited quarterback. Caleb is not limited. And I think you're seeing what Eberflus can do with Caleb already over these 6 games. And if this continues, all you can say is it does matter. A head coach with a quarterback, it does matter. And yeah, Justin's doing fine in Pittsburgh, but no one sees him as more than just a good to decent quarterback, but with still holes in his game. Caleb is developing quickly. So I would say Eberflus is good to go as a Bears head coach. What are your thoughts here, Winston?
I think the jury is still out for Eberflus because I stand behind, if they don't find a way to protect Caleb, you might end up with another Andrew Luck situation where he does come out and become that dude and could potentially win MVPs and take you deep in the playoffs, but he decides to retire after 7 years because he's like, I don't need this bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need my body to be going through all of this. If what you want is for Caleb to either stay in Chicago and not only stay, but to be there for a long time.
Yeah.
Let's see what Eberflus does to protect him. You got him weapons. I do like that they did that, and that's more on the GM than Eberflus, but I want to see how they protect this kid and if they don't put bad things in him. As far as Justin Fields goes, I just think that some people are more ready or they're able to do stuff a little bit more independently in certain situations. Yeah. And I think that Justin has some legitimate talent there, but he just got paired up with the wrong people to try and start his professional career. So I would say Eberflus is still on the clock. That's what I would say.
I agree. I think that's fair, rather. Fredtastic says, supporting Game Time. Thank you, Fred. This was a crazy weekend, especially for my Cowboys, but not surprising. Jerry added to his dumbest things said folder with his, do you think I'm an idiot? Nothing tops. Any 500 coaches can coach this team. Oof. With these accurate quotes.
You gotta love how he loves to shit talk his coaches all the time, but then won't actually fire them.
Yeah, it's true, because it shows that he's a bad manager of these coaches if he fires them, or a bad owner for firing all these coaches. But yeah. All right, well, there you go. That's our episode of Game Time. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us on this Monday afternoon here, at least Monday afternoon on the West Coast. Wherever you're watching or listening to us, we appreciate it madly. Winston, another fun show, brother man. Please let people know where they can find you, what you got going on.
Yep, you can find me at the Swaggy Blurred on all platforms, but especially here on YouTube. I will have my Penguin review / reaction out once I get back from what I'm actually going to is a callback for a pretty big job. So, throw some luck up in the air for me, y'all. I will also have a Blurred breakdown for you this evening. But same thing. I needed to focus on these auditions first. I'm going to actually take off as soon as I finish saying this because it is on the opposite side of town. And for those that know LA traffic, that could literally be I do there in 2 hours. It might take me the full 2 hours to get there. So all that being said, please come and check out the channel, man. I have a lot of free time this week, so you'll be getting content every day, which I'm excited about. We're going to try and do something a little more regular like that. Other than that, got nothing but love for you. I'll see you on the next Game Time. And Capes and Cows as well. And, depending on what Rocha's got going on, we might do a Spill the Tequila this week, too.
Oh, yeah. We might line that up for sure. As for me, at the Rocha Says, please subscribe down below, hit that bell button, and leave your comments as well. All right. Much love to everybody. Thanks for being lively in the chat. Thanks for the Streamlabs. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here of Game Time on the Game Time Sports Channel. Peace.